This is one of the most hyped cases of 2023, and we are finally building in it. This is our very first build using the extremely popular Hyte Y40 case. And on first looks, I can see why many people have loved building in this. So the internal patterns on top of the power supply shroud, on top of the PCIe riser cable, and on top of the case as well at the back, they all follow the same sort of design layout. Now the case itself has kind of like a panoramic view with the front glass panel and the side glass panel, and these two meet up for a kind of seamless join where the glass is actually cut at a 45-degree angle, so both parts fit and slot in nicely together. Cooling wise, we can fit a 240mm radiator here, which is what we're going to be putting in, and I think we're going to put a 360mm radiator up the top, which is going to be plenty of cooling. It also comes with a pre-installed fan at the rear here for exhaust, and also one intake that is directly under the GPU, which supplies cool air through the venting holes here, so the GPU stays nice and cool. Now speaking of the GPU, as I said, the case comes with its own PCIe 4 riser cable, and you can see how much distance there is from the front glass if you were to put a GPU in. It can accommodate up to a 4-slot graphics card. Now you can fit up to an ATX size motherboard, and I'm also thinking with all of the extra space that we have on top of the power supply shroud, I should be able to fit a reservoir in there somewhere as well. On the front of the case, it's pretty standard. We've got our power button, 2 USB Type A, an audio jack, and our USB Type C. On the rear, we've got our ventilation for the 240mm radiator. This here is just part of the design. There's no venting in this section. You can pull off the back panel like so. We've got our SSD cage right here. Plenty of cable management loops for all of your cable ties. There's enough space for your cables there as well, and plenty of space underneath. Speaking of underneath, as you can see, I mentioned before, we have the fan in there. I'm a bit worried about if there are extra power supply cables coming out, if they'll get stuck in that fan, but there's plenty of cable management loops in there as well for you to cable tie all your cables down, so they shouldn't go into the fan blades. Now on the rear of the case, we also have some cable management loops to cable tie anything that is connected to the GPU or to the motherboard, which I haven't really seen in too many cases before. So this is a breath of fresh air. I think this one's gonna be a really fun one to build in. I'll leave a link in the description if you wanna check out more about this case. Let's start building and we'll see what we can come up with design-wise. So this made me super excited about doing this build. I know this is a last generation CPU. It is the 12900K. I know this is a Z690 ProArt motherboard. However, I got these as a combo deal from a mate who was doing a big clean out before he was moving. We got this for $200 US. Now that seems pretty insane to me, so I couldn't pass up on the offer, and so I'm super excited to be putting these into a build. Now check this out guys, we've got plenty of M.2 support on this motherboard. We've got 10 and 2.5 gigabit LAN, loads of USB and USB Type C, but most of all, look how clean this motherboard is. I'm telling you guys, if you could get into the second market, there are so many good deals out there. I mean, we've been picking up our budget PCs, and of course we got this RAM from our mate, and of course we have 32 gigs of it, which is going to be amazing for this system. Oh look, you can see it's being used. It's still got a bit of thermal paste around the edges, but the 12900K is definitely no slouch. It is last generation's best CPU for Intel. So for thermal paste, I'm thinking some good old Thermal Grizzly, although I think the CPU needs a bit more of a clean. I don't want any dust or anything like that on there, so we'll give that a quick isopropyl alcohol wipe down, just to make sure we get rid of any dust. Okay, that's looking much better. So we'll do a quick dollop right in the middle. That'll do. So for the CPU block, I originally was thinking of going all black accental, but I ended up changing my mind because we've got gold, black, we've got nickel, we've got the GPU, which isn't looking as clean, because I was thinking a nice gold and black or just an all black stealth build would look absolutely amazing. But to me, the GPU aesthetics don't really fit that style of build, so we're gonna go with the clear plexi. Okay, so the 1700 socket blocks, they've got a bit of a different way of mounting, so this actually screws in from the back. So let's flip her over and start screwing her. I just gotta get the two opposite corners going, then we should be right. Yeah, there we go. So I've already installed a bunch of games on our Corsair MP600. It has 1 terabyte capacities, and that's really gonna help us out because I really wanna do some gameplay testing for you guys at the end to see how the temperatures are and also to see how it performs. Oh, nice. No need for a screw because we've got that little locking mechanism right here, so that makes it nice and easy. Dude, just go in, man. All right, there we go. Oh yeah, motherboard's looking super clean. So now we're going to need the case. We are going to need a screwdriver and we're going to need some screws. Okay, so I'll have to move the bracket out of the way first before we go ahead and install the motherboard. Nice and easy. And now for the motherboard. See how much room we have to work with here. Plenty of room there. This should be held up actually by one of the screws. There we go. So one of the screws is holding that in place. Plenty of room there as well. We'll screw in opposite corners just to anchor it down and then it should be good to go. The placement of this screw hole is getting a bit in the way here. I may have to swap to a smaller screwdriver to actually get the whole screwdriver in the case so I can keep it straight. All right, so now we should just be able to pop. I need to remove the second slot and bring it down one. There we go, that's much better. You know, I may end up taking this back out just to plug in some of the cables behind, because once I install the GPU, it's gonna be a bit hard to get back there, and then this cable's in the way as well, so we'll see how we go. But for now, I just wanna make sure everything fits properly. So I feel like inside the build is gonna be a bit dark, so I really wanna add some lighting, and I'm gonna do that with the fans. So I'm going to uninstall this fan. I don't really need to uninstall the one down below, because obviously that's hidden. And number 4. All right, so our weapon of choice for the cooling is the Unifan SL Infinities. Now we do go with these quite often, however, I saw a lot of fans with a pretty similar design to these at Computex where they have the whole daisy chain thing happening with one cable. So we'll be able to try out a few more once they're released. I'm definitely excited for the fan space in tech, so I'm quite a fan. It's gonna clean up a lot of PCs really well. Okay, onto the liquid cooling support. We've got our 240 and 360 radiator, and I've already found a few issues in regards to custom water cooling. Number 1, if you want to use a 360mm radiator up the top, just like this, you can't use a rear fan. Now this fan is down as low as I can possibly get it, but the thickness of the radiator, especially when you install fans on it, is not gonna fit. Even a thinner one would not work. The second issue I have found, the thickness of this radiator is 45mm. Now if you apply the thickness of the fans onto that, which is another 28mm, we're around that 72, 73mm mark. Now if I do a quick measurement from the top radiator bracket, we are colliding with the RAM. Not only that, but a quick measurement from the top radiator bracket down to the CPU block, we are actually colliding with where the ports are. So we can't actually screw in our fittings. It's unusable. So now we are limited to only using a thin 360mm radiator up the top. So we have to swap out the radiator and we have to swap out the RAM for a lower profile. So guys, once again, if you want to do custom water cooling in here, you need a thinner radiator and you need a lower profile RAM. Yep, that RAM is sticking out a little too much. So let's swap out the radiator, let's get the fans installed and we'll see what we can come up with. So for the top radiator, I've got the fans set up as exhaust. And quite honestly, I am considering putting other fans as intake, even though it will be bringing in radiator heat, I guess. It's not gonna be too hot, it'll still be cool air, but the case does need some intake. I think to even out the pressure so that there's not as much dust and stuff going through, I think that is the best option. All right, let's remove the RAM and the fan. Okay, so let's see if this all fits now. Okay, that's good. So I should be able to install it this way. I just don't know if I want the ports coming down here or down on this side, but for now, let's install it like this. See what we can come up with for this build. I won't put in all the screws yet, just in case I need to remove the radiator. I just want enough to hold it in place. So you guys can now see why we have to remove the fan there. Obviously, it doesn't fit up through here anymore. I mean, I can technically just put 2 screws in there and have it like this. Obviously, the fan's down here and it's slightly blocked off, but like some exhaust is better than none. So that could be an option. But if I was to have the ports on this side, there is no way I could install a fan at all because the tubes need to come down and the fan would get in the way. Stay tuned for part 2, the finale, where we'll be able to work through the radiator compatibility issues and complete the build. Also, if you'd like a chance at owning your own Height Y40 case, then leave a comment down below telling us why you want it. For an additional entry, click the video right here and tell us down in the comments what the grossest component was in this video. And as always, Patreons and YouTube members get 1 extra entry into the giveaway. Thanks for watching.